Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the live lounge. First of all, you'll see I'm on my own. Everyone's late on parade today. I'd like to start without them. Some explaining to do, isn't there? Don't worry. Reinforcements are on the way, so I'm just holding the fort temporarily. Don't worry. We'll get there in the end, everyone. So until then, you've got to put up with me. But welcome along, everyone. Chat room is nice and busy as always. How are we all doing? Hope we enjoyed the UK Open. Plenty going on in the darting world. One reinforcement has arrived. Dan is here.
Good evening.
Dan's computer decided to do an update just as we were about to start, so I knew he was going to be late. And Gob, don't worry, he'll be getting some shortly. Before we even get started on Mr. Boyce.
Well, I think there's, in reality, he got his excuses lined up, hasn't he? And I think he might be thinking maybe, a bit rough, long weekend, travelled a lot, bit too much sauce. But I think we all know the real reason why Lee Boyce can't face the world today. And it isn't related to darts.
Because his football team's shite.
Yeah, correct.
How we all doing? Evening, Carl. Hope you are well. Owen is in. Joe is in. How we all doing? Of course, Paddy is in. How we doing, Johnny? Bob. Chat room's rammed already. And as always, the one and only Mr. Mason is in. How we doing? Yeah, look, it's just been a mental few days. Oh, here he is. Nice of you to join us.
Good evening.
Hello. I was listening. I am 28 years old.
Gob's power nap went wrong.
You set an alarm and they haven't gone off. And I think I may have quite sleepily just selected the times and realised that they might well be set to AM.
Oh, that could have been a very long nap, couldn't it?
How we doing, Will? Hope you are good over the pond, mate. Right, first of all, we'll address Mr. Boyce. He says he indulged too much this weekend and was is unwell and was throwing up on the way home. Don't get me wrong, yes, he had a bit too much sauce. However, his football team also got absolutely battered.
And it was, I'll be honest, and it was perfect because not only that, it's that absolute battering slotted beautifully between the afternoon and the evening session of the darts. It was just it made for an absolute Super Sunday in the Simpson house. It was quite spectacular.
Especially as the first game back was Adam Gowlas versus Andrew Gilding, which isn't the quickest, which wasn't the most entertaining ever, but he had plenty of time to sit and watch and think about what had just gone on during that game.
Lots of contemplation time for that to soak in, wasn't it?
He had plenty of time to think about his actions. But look, what a weekend of darts, and we'll come on to the UK Open in a minute. We've got some interview clips to play you because there was plenty said away from the UK Open as well. Some insight into Exeter, and I know the players were complaining about Exeter, but I'll tell you now, it was bloody freezing in there. And if I say it's cold, you know it's cold.
Shorts, 11 months.
We're still shorts and flip flops. Still the order of the day, though, Baz.
Don't worry, they're still on. Don't worry about that.
I mean, it was cold, but you weren't in the Arctic. You weren't.
How are we doing, Ed? Are we doing Danny? Yes, we do. The one and only Mr. Mark Webster will be joining us somewhere between 8:45 and 9 p.m.
And I'd just like to let you all know, Mark is a Man United fan.
So I'll try and turn my volume up a little bit. We're not on the normal software, so I will just do it on here instead. Fingers crossed that works. But right, first of all, we're going to crack on with the UK Open. Look, we're not going to go into every game and every that because we'll be here all blooming day. But first of all, boys, Studio 36, hit or miss?
As a TV watcher, amazing. Like, I think as someone who was sat at home watching the event on the telly, I think the PDC did a super, PDC mixed in with ITV. Brilliant job. Presentation was absolutely great. The amount of streaming on the boards was really, really good. I mean, I did a stream here one day, I think it's Saturday afternoon. Yeah, Saturday. With Jar, and that was just tremendous. The amount of content that was being put out, the way it was set up. Small part of me aches inside when there's an event on at Minehead and we're not having darts thrown in reds. It just makes me sad to think that that's not being used. But as a spectacle, I think it certainly works really well for me. I thought they did a great job.
I didn't like it. It looked brilliant, but I didn't like it. Just it wasn't reds.
That's it. Yeah, that's the only. And now on the telly, it doesn't make it. Like me stood in my kitchen cooking a bolognese, watching it out it's fine. And certainly streaming the other day and trying to, when you've got lots going on, keeping track of the amount of video streaming they had was superb. Really, really good. But yeah, I would be gutted if I'd be going there as a punter and then finding out, oh, we're not going in reds to watch darts. I'd be gutted.
Yeah, look, we've got some clips from Matt. Did a really good piece with Matt Porter. Reds is coming back for November.
I'm very happy to hear that, as we confirmed our trip to this morning for next year. So I'm very pleased to hear that.
Yep.
I'll be honest, you told me to watch that piece earlier, and quite clearly I've been asleep. Is it as well as, or is it instead of 36?
The way it came across, instead of, I think 36 will become the media and practice room.
Okay.
I think. Don't quote me on that, but we were based in Reds this time around as media, and the main stage practice board and practice room was in Reds. So I think we'll decamp there, and Reds will reopen to.
Well, the closest I got as a viewer, the closest I got to seeing anything going on in Reds was Matt Porter's interview, I think, which looked very much familiar, like a Reds background, I think, Phill.
Yeah, but yeah, look, we'll come on to the Matt bit in a minute. But it all kicked off Friday afternoon, and it didn't disappoint. We called it last week. Luke Littler on the main stage opened up. How excited is this boy?
He is just a ridiculous talent. And look, Thomas Banks had a fantastic run as well. Of the two, we said this from the start. We said it when it happened. We said that Luke had that little bit more experience. So actually, if you were going to showcase one of the two on TV that could handle it without getting to him too much, you'd probably send Luke Littler up onto that main stage opening match. And look, he was fantastic. First leg, little bit edgy. Nick scored fantastically the first 9 darts, which will put you on the back foot. Luke pinches the leg and he never, ever looked back. He absolutely did a job on a very, very experienced professional dart player.
Completely. But for that one dodgy leg, the average would have been 99, 100 mark. That one leg's killed the average, but the performance was just sublime from him. What's your standouts from the first round ties?
Oh, just jumping in there, are we? Disappointed with Tibbo losing to James Richardson on the main stage. Van Veen, Robert Owen was a brutal round one draw for both players. They are both playing far too well for that to have been nice for either of them. What else do we have? bit disappointed with the Jitse van der Waal Jared Cole game. Look, it went 11 legs. I think both players are far better than that. Jitse struggled in round 2. We know Jared's a far better player than that. I guess the other standout game for me in that round was Jim McEwen's performance over Danny Lowry.
Yeah.
Dylan Slevin got off to a great start. Like, really came out absolutely all guns blazing round 1. Looked really well. I mean, to be fair, I think just after his first game, I messaged you both and said I think I fancy Slevin for a run. Certainly the way he set off that day, he looked absolutely superb. I thought as well, just thinking of new tour card holders, I thought Adam Warner came out looking really, really impressive opening game, and I've got to give a little bit of props to him as well, because he got a bit of a feature. ITV he had a bit of an interview with him, and I think he just came across really, really well in his interview piece. Adam Warner, he's a good representative for darts. He speaks really well, comes across well. So I think yes. I mean, I know he. Who did he play? Montgomery, I think. Didn't he? Ross Montgomery in the second round didn't get through, and got beat, but looked really strong in his opening match, and came across really well. I thought when he got on the television. Yeah.
Also, Daryl Pilgrim losing an 102 average as well was mental. And unfortunately, we've seen it in the Super Series as well. Daryl seems to find a way to lose blooming good games when he's playing well.
Daryl just likes to be, which obviously means this is where he finished as well, because nobody had a tournament average that high for the rest of the weekend. He just likes being an absolute stats menace, because what that means is Daryl Pilgrim finishes the weekend with the best average in Dart Connect. Once again, the man played 1 Pro Tour last season, averaged 100 for 2 games, got beat second round, and stayed at the top of the running average for the entire season. He's just a menace to stats compilers everywhere.
Yeah, absolute nuts. Also out on the outer boards, Graham Usher played some brilliant stuff. Look, the game against John O'Shea was a fabulous game to watch going all the way. And I want to come on to the point here before we move on to the other games. How good was it that we could watch all the outside boards? I saw some people moaning on social media, "Oh, it's not great coverage." Look, we could see the whole board. It's player throwing. It was like, please, for the first time we've ever had every board streamed at the UK Open. It was a fantastic start.
It was I thought it was amazing. So I was laughing on here on Saturday. So the youngest member of the team, young Billy, donated the telly from his bedroom for the day, because I had that set up on it. But what was amazing was I had all the boards just set up on the TV, little windows, and it was just unbelievable, because I could just there was always something to watch. Every time something went on a break, there was something going on. Just amazing coverage. Like, you could moan that. Well, it's not a moan. There are people out in Twitterverse saying that each board wasn't all television quality, but that's not what it is. That's not what. Like, we're used to not seeing any of that, and it all just going on behind the scenes, and we get little bits of news and Darts Connect. But the fact that we could tune in and look at, we were streaming on here and looking at which way people had gone for things, what had they missed, how had they gone around it. It was just, I thought it was amazing. Game changer. Absolutely superb.
Look, and also Simon said in the comments there, and Matt said it in the interview that we did with him as well. Look, the first 30 minutes, there were a few teething problems. With aspect ratios and score straps. However, after 30 minutes, they got it bang on.
Yeah, and let's be honest, but realistically...
6 games affected, wasn't that?
Yeah.
But in reality, that is, like, if they'd been doing that for 2 years, and they'd been streaming every game, and then all of a sudden they set off the tournament, it's not quite set up right, you'd stop, but have a little grumble, roll your eyes, and then we're there. Like, that's something we've never had before. Like, as darts fans, we've never been able to get that insight. That's completely new access to us. So, if it takes half an hour for people to go and tinker with stuff and set it up right, and because you're only going to find out all the live problems when you run it live and when it happens. So I just think it was huge step forward, and really encouraged by the interview with Matt, where he talked about, again, not full coverage, because it would be not practical to ever get that. I don't think anyone would watch it, but more coverage on the Players Championship events as well. Is just really intriguing, isn't it? The more darts there is available for people to watch, the better.
Yeah, as well.
Enough, and we've used Dart Connect enough to know that no matter how well you pre-plan, the minute a game goes live, it's like, nah, fuck you, we're going to do this instead. It's got a complete mind of its own. It does not matter how well you pre-plan stuff. Sometimes the scoreboards and everything can only be done once you've gone live. They tried to pre-set everything up, which would have saved time and effort, etc. It's difficult to put all 6 boards live all at once, and it didn't come off. But as we said, they got everything right after that. It looked decent. I'm glad that they stretched the image, because if it had stayed square, as it looked like it was going to, that would have been difficult to watch. But look, they ironed out those teething problems first year for £4 for the weekend if you paid for that, or if you've already got a subscription as an extra to what you were previously getting on that service. I don't think you can complain too much.
No. It was just...
Well, people were happy paying that amount without getting that, weren't they? So... You know, when I decided that's the amount I'd pay annually or whatever, they didn't offer that service, so it's a booty bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Into round 2, the start of Richie Burnett's unbelievable weekend, which we will talk on more. He beat James Richardson 6-2, and look, barring obviously Andrew Gilding, spoiler alert, going and winning it, this weekend would have been all about Richie Burnett.
Yeah, there was a point in the day. So, well, to be honest, up to a point on Sunday, he was the biggest story of the tournament. Well, you know, that was the biggest story of the tournament so far. And if we'd have had a different winner or a different set of semi-finals, perhaps, then you know it still would be the biggest story. I just think it was again lots and lots of stories this weekend, lots of different things. I mean, obviously, we'll get to the big one. But loads of little things happening all over the place in younger players and the older players and the returning players, and things not getting what we expect from some of the big names, and then seeing, as I say, an unbelievable set of results from Richie Burnett.
Yeah, it was just absolutely sublime. We saw players headbutting boards as well on the outer stream. Welcome to the DRA Fine Club. Beforehand, you'd have got away with that, but the whole world saw
Welcome, Aaron. Welcome back.
Welcome back, Aaron. There's your first fine, and we're in March.
I don't write that bit on Dart Connect normally, do they?
Game shot and headbutt the board.
I mean, better the board than someone else, isn't it? You know, it wasn't a fan, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, I suppose as well, going into round 3, Josh Rock losing early was a surprise, but Luke Wood has put in an unbelievable performance, 103 average to beat Josh Rock. Devin Peterson is in a whole world of trouble right now, boys.
Yes.
He's averaged 90 and played okay. William O'Connor's averaged 99, but he is in a world of trouble.
Yeah, it's just another dead end for him, isn't it? Just another money lost, a further slide down the rankings, and just not being able to pick up a win or playing into form of any kind, really, unfortunately, for Devon.
I think he's going to be in that position as well, where people are aware of his struggles. The same with Glenn Dorrant. You look at other players that have seen significant drop-offs in form, who then go chasing that regaining form as well. Every single little loss is almost magnified that little bit more. Adrian Lewis is probably one of the standout people on tour to take a look at as well. It's one of those, every time it looks like he's going to put in a decent little run, something else goes wrong, or a solid performance comes back at you. You're not just going to get handed a run to a Pro Tour final where all of a sudden you are the same dart player you were 4 or 5 years ago, and long may that continue. And where you make so many, I've done it myself, where you make so many minute changes to your action, to your throw, and so many different things have crept into your game over so long, even having something that you just go back to as a setting point where you always have your elbow, where you always bring your dart back to, where you always grip the dart, etc. All of those things can just go out the window in the middle of a match. You don't want to be overthinking about your action too much. It's a bit like golf and having too many swing thoughts, right? Put your ass out, high elbow, or any of those sort of things on your club. You don't want too many of those, because then it distracts you from being in the game, and that's what you're actually concentrating on. But without enough of those to reset, you can lose your action and lose your way very quickly. And especially in the middle of a game, I find that because it is all about getting the win and getting the result, you could be 2-0 down. It doesn't really matter how you're throwing a dart at that point if you start winning. It's if it goes badly, and that's just a strange mentality to try and overcome.
Yeah, no, agreed. Also, Carl said there, Jim Williams' game against Jean Van Veen in round 3, both averaging over 101. That was a superb game. And look, Jean, he's going to be a lot of fun on tour. The boy's got ability.
Yeah, I thought Jim Williams looked really good. I'm 6'3", wasn't it? But he looked really strong at that point. And again, Jim was someone that, and I know he only just went out. He played really well. But going into that game, I thought it was a bit of a 50-50 that with it, in the format it was on, the way that they've both played of late. But yeah, I thought Jim might have gone a bit deeper after that. He played really well and did very well to get out of it 6-3 as well.
Yeah, look, a few other surprises in and around round 3. George Killington beat Madas Razma in a noble. Good start for George. Martin Lukeman beat Dan Reed. Good result for Smash in that one. Conor Heenahan beaten by Thomas Banks. We'll come on to Thomas Banks shortly. Ricky Evans beat Graham Usher in a last leg decider again. Another fabulous game out on the outer boards. And look, this is what makes the UK Open.
Yeah, and look, there are different things to have a look at. There are not return to form, but the performance of Jelle Klassen through these first 4 rounds was quite eye-catching, considering that he was up on the main stage, played against Josh Payne, and he's got Scott Williams, some incredibly tough fixtures in there for him. But at this point, I think the run of Luke Littler became even more impressive because he was the very, very first game up on the main stage. All right, it wasn't the very first game in the first round, but he played then. He then basically plays first round fixture on stage 2 for round 2, or very, very close to that. So he doesn't have a massive amount of turnaround time to go and take on Rusty Jake Rodriguez. And then he has to wait until the very, very last game on his board, which then gets moved to a different board against an experienced professional like Rich Yedhouse, who's been on the tour for the last couple of years, has had some solid results, been at World Championships, etc., and goes and gets a last decider victory over him. Survives match darts, I think, at one point, was 5-4 down, wins 2 legs on the spin. That performance then from somebody so young became even more impressive, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is where Mr. Mason fell off the Christmas card list as the live draw for round 4 came out. And look, it's the same every year, but oh my God, boys, there was some absolute brutal games in this round 4. Gary Anderson, James Wade, Michael Van Gerwen, Dave Chisnell, Van Dyvenbode, Ratajski, the list goes on. Vandenberg, Clemens.
Complete carnage, isn't it? And that is the beauty. That is the a lot of the times we talk about different tournaments and that the reason that we like having so many different tournaments is because they are, lots of them, unique in their own. They all have something that makes them unique, whether that be the format, whether it be the venue, whether it be how the people qualify for it. The absolute chaos of that draw, like it's one of the most. As a darts fan, that draw certainly of that round, that draw, third going into the 4th round, is one of the most exciting 5 minutes in the annual darts calendar for me. It's because you can have absolutely anything. You sort of know, certainly doing what we do, you can already start to see stories developing and potential things going on and who might meet who. And it's such fun and such a unique thing because there aren't loads of sports that really can accommodate that type of open format. If you think of the sports that have an open format, golf, tennis, to a degree, you've got snooker, but there's not loads of sports where you can have that. Just pull everything out, surprise everybody, then get cracked on with it. I think it's marvellous. It really is good.
Evening, Shawnee Mack. Dan Dawson would have been doing cartwheels. Yes. Dan works for Sky. He still works for ITV as well, Johnny, but he was in Colorado, or was it Columbus? He was somewhere in the States doing the chase tag.
Watching Tig.
Sat next to Arnold Schwarzenegger at one point discussing darts on the chase tag commentary. Yeah, brilliant.
Playing Tig with the Terminator. What a weekend.
On the main stage, I called it. Right, there's been false hopes in the Gary Anderson comeback over the last 4 years. However, right now, I am genuinely bloody excited because we're now in April. The action looks Rolls Royce again. He cares. And there are signs that he is ready to go berserk.
There is, but I throw him in that category of Adrian Lewis earlier. And a few others. It's not quite as significant a decline. This has been can't be asked to do anything, really. It's not been caused by an injury or it's just been a lack of motivation. The peak of the game has always been there. It's does he want to produce it? He is still going to run into ridiculous performances. You look back to the Masters just a few weeks ago. That's going to be on the cards. And the longer that this renewed confidence and form and enjoyment of darts goes on for Gary, the better, because there are going to be little knockbacks. There are going to be times when it doesn't quite go to plan, and where the Gary of old, when he was back playing this well last time, would have just moved through fields and was in conversation for the best player in the world. The sport has grown since then. People have spent the last couple of years looking at Gary going, actually, there's a winnable tie there because he's not quite as infused by the sport, and that fear factor around Gary will have disappeared a little bit. Not from everybody. There are still some that go, actually, it's Gary Anderson. That man is in conversation for one of the best dart players that ever lived. But he is still not quite 2017 Gary Anderson that was really much in contention with Michael Van Gerwen for the best player in the world.
Yeah. But again, it's an early depart for James Wade. James played all right here. He's averaged 96, but there is a slow decline in James Wade's ranking here as well, which is getting a little concerning for James Wade fans.
Well, he was defending a win here, wasn't he? And drawing Gary Anderson first round will not have helped him. He's actually dropped to world number 14. Dropped 5 places from world number 9, which is where he started pre-tournament. But yeah, not ideal for him.
And that 20 to 14 set as well is relatively compact at the moment at this time of year, because we know what's ahead. It's not going to take a lot for either someone to catch him or for Wade to just drop out, depending on what he's defended. A fall from 14 to 20 wouldn't be particularly surprising if he didn't have a run somewhere.
Great start there from Carl, as always, boys.
Yeah, look, this is why your world ranking and being in the position that Gary is completely relevant, because Gary Anderson is playing darts better than Michael Van Gerwen right now, according to his average. Look, average doesn't tell you everything about sport, but over a longer period of time, it is quite a good measure. Over 1 or 2 games that you can argue about its significance. He is playing at a better average for this season than Michael Van Gerwen right now. Michael Van Gerwen has won 2 Premier League nights. Gary Anderson has failed to get through 2 European Tour qualifiers. Like, this is just the brutal realism of being in each situation. Gary Anderson could well have been in the Premier League and winning multiple nights, playing better than Van Gerwen is right now, and could have had a better run at the Masters if he doesn't run into the performance he does, and could have had a better run here if it falls that way. But that's just not quite opening up for him. So the longer he goes without tangible results and deeper into tournaments, because he does keep running into these off performances or whatever, the more difficult it will be for Gary to stay motivated, I think, because look, there's something that's definitely lit the fire in his belly right now.
Oh, completely.
And that's good to see, but it needs to stay there. Look, Wayne Marder wound him up at the World Championships the other year, allegedly. Look, he didn't take too kindly to what Wayne was saying. And look, we've got the interview and we still get comments on that now. That was 3 years ago, by the way. I don't know how it keeps popping up on people's Facebooks, but we still get notifications going, Oh, yeah, well said, Gary. You tell, Wayne. It was 3 years ago, people. Let it go. But that fire disappeared from Gary very, very quickly, didn't it? Like, that didn't materialise into anything. He got wound up at the World Championships, played well, was like, I'm going to stick around just to annoy people forever. But it didn't motivate him to get off his ass and practice the next week. Whereas something seems to be doing that right now because he's with Ryan Searle 4 days a week.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. Just looking around, this round was just littered with quality just everywhere. We looked in this tie. Johnny Clayton against Ross Smith in round 4, a last leg decider from the Ferret. It's just, you just look at this ties popping out all over the place.
Humphrey's header. Like, that was a mad game and a mint game. Proper good. There was some real quality in this round. Real quality.
I'd have to go back and have a look, but it feels like the matchups were just closer. Like, look, there are plenty of tough ties in there, and that might be a reflection on the standard of darts. Of the 32 games, 9 didn't get to 10-7 or closer. It just feels like everything else was matched up pretty nicely, and everywhere you looked, we got the standout in Price versus Banks as a big story. We got a couple of the big boys against each other, Gary Wade, but everything else just seemed to be matched quite neatly all the way down, so that even if you did get a world number 50 against a world number 55, they seem to be playing each other and they seem to go at each other and take it deep, etc.
Stephen Bunting wiring the 9 dart against Peter Wright and ended up losing. Also, a very frosty affair over on stage 2 between Raymond van Barneveld and Rob Cross at the end. We don't know what happened, but it was it looked a tad chilly.
Yeah, it was unusual, that one. Didn't, because I was sort of half trying to keep an eye on a bunch of different things, and there was a bit of needle towards the end, I think, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was interesting. Then moving on, Saturday morning, again, some just brutal ties. The first one, the world champion Michael Smith against Luke Humphreys gets pulled out, and you're just like, wow, one of them are going home before Saturday evening. Luke Humphreys came through the last leg decider, and look, Michael Smith, not fully fit. We know that, but still putting in tremendous performances, not at his best.
Oh yeah, that was on the wire, that match. It went the full distance, and at any point, I mean, to be honest, there was 3, 4, 5 times in the last 3, 4 legs you could have picked a different winner. It was always going to just come down to 1 or 2 darts right at the very end of that one.
Want to talk about the game on the main stage, the Iceman Gerwyn Price against Jeffrey Deswan. What a game. Look, Price has averaged 101.5 and lost. Jeffrey Deswan looking something like the Black Cobra that we saw 3 or 4 years ago. But that 6-leg blitz, the 6 he won in a row against Gerwyn Price, averaging 118, was just remarkable.
Just hit a level, didn't he? Yeah, I had it live on the stream, and it was just Jar and I made very different predictions as to what would happen in that game, and I was thankfully absolutely bang on, because I just thought the break seemed to come at the right time, and I just wasn't sure whether if he just got a couple. And I also think that I still maintain that Gerwyn Price is an amazing dart player. Of course, he is an amazing dart player, and he is an absolutely fantastic front runner. If he gets on top in a match, builds up with some momentum, like, he is bordering on unstoppable at all times. But I still think and a lot of it gets blamed on the crowd, and people talk about the crowd getting on top of him a lot. But I just think there's a bit of fragility when he's behind, certainly in leg play, when we're just on a run to a number, when he gets 3, 4 legs behind, it's rare he'll be able to catch it. For a player of his standard, that you would expect to be able to find that A game, and that's exactly what happened. But unbelievable from the Swan. Certainly that run of legs was just absolutely magnificent. Main stage stuff.
What caught your eye, Gob, in this round?
The next round, because that's what I watched again, because I was on stage refereeing county all day.
Fair enough.
When you're like, oh yeah, what a run from Div 1, 6 legs in a row, I was like, fucking hell, I didn't know
that. Look, there was some really good ones.
I suppose the other one in there that's the standout, and I won't dwell on it because we've already talked about him, but that absolute destruction of Kim Hybricks from Gary Anderson was on another level. Like, I know we've already talked about Gary, so I won't go on, but like that 10-2 was just like, because that's the point at which it looked like, all right, Gary's here, is he? Like that's when it really, really lifted, and I thought, here we are, he's going to do something here. Complete destruction.
There you go, Gob. Carl's put it on the screen for us.
Yeah, average. I had a 45 dart hold the next evening when I went for a practice.
And everyone, do as Shawnee Mac says, make sure you hit the like button for us, folks. Right, moving in to round 6. There's only one place to start. We spoke about him earlier, but I don't care. We're going to speak about him again. Richie Burnett rolls back the years to beat Peter Wright in round 6 of the UK Open.
So in terms of this being a story, because it's a massive story, but this is the point. So like, we're all into darts. Like, we have a little WhatsApp group. We all chat to each other, and we have, people around us who are into darts. It's at this point when I started getting WhatsApp messages of people who aren't into darts. Because that like that, people have a casual interest that watch it a bit when it's on in the pub, but that's when people started to like text me and say like, "What's going on? Like, Peter Wright, he's just being Pete. Who's this guy?" And that's when like a story outside of our little like really ingrained in darts bubble started to build up a head of steam, and Richie Burnett became the big story. But just again, amazing, like main stage. I can't imagine how much fun it must have been to be in that arena, like for that game. Because what good fun! I mean, 2 characters, the walk-ons of just those 2 coming out, and the amount of energy that was getting bounced around on that screen, just absolutely top draw.
And yeah, look, James has said it there. It was childhood memories coming in, flooding back, and literally the main arena where they were chanting Richie and stuff like this. They just had him on his feet, and he had his little dance and his little celebration, and that smile, you just couldn't take it off of his face. And look, we've seen this level from him at the Live League and Super Series when he came in. We've seen him do 9 darters. We've seen him average huge numbers. But to do it in front of the world again was just remarkable, because we don't see it often enough, Gob. We see players that have won world titles in the past, and look, he's had misdemeanors in his career. He says that. But to come back and do it on the biggest stages of them all now is just remarkable.
Yeah, just very, very good game. I thought Burnett was done for.
I agree.
I thought he had to keep Peter Wright at arm's length. I don't think Wright played badly in the first set, but then started changing his darts, and I wasn't convinced that that was the right way to go. That he'd absolutely lost his head that weekend. Yeah, not ideal. But when they got level again, I was concerned for Richie Burnett. I thought, that's it. That's the pipe dream over. Race to 6 was fine, but once you get back level, the guys at the top of the sport, they come out on top at this point. You don't get these little fairy tale runs towards the back end. They have to stay ahead. And to respond the way that he did, to keep edging out legs, was absolutely superb. And look, the man won a world title 9 days before I was born.
Yeah.
He's still playing ridiculous level darts.
Well, I love the stat, and I know we're jumping ahead slightly, that when he played Dimmy, I think I might have been Webby that had said on the TV that the stat that when Richie won his world title, Dimmy was 6 months old. I thought that was pretty cool on the main stage, isn't it?
Yeah, but going back to Wright, it was either at the Masters or one of the World Series events. We were told that he'd thrown the rest in the bin. He'd made his mind up. He wasn't going to switch anymore. I'm guessing the bin men didn't collect.
Yeah, they didn't come and pick us all his
He
darts.
He went and fished them out. In
either that or Lee at Red Dragon's been very, very busy for the last few weeks, churning out more sets.
But we saw change last week in the Premier League to this week, and then going into the UK Open in the Burnett game specifically, we had 4 changes between 3 sets.
I'm just waiting for them to bring out I've got one of them nice little Target darts cases to take me darts. I'm waiting for the Peter Wright darts attaché briefcase that comes. Like the inside of Del Boy's coat, there's just rows and rows of darts in there.
But look, beforehand, Peter Wright is one of the greats of the sport, what he's won. But beforehand, he always had that safety blanket, I felt, of he could go back to the elements, whether it was the natural one or the gold. He could always go back to, and they would work. But right now, has he chopped and changed that much that there is no safety blanket anymore?
I don't know, because I still feel like a straight barrel is the way to go for him. I still think as a base point to start for Peter Wright, that is what he's won the majority of his big titles in the last couple of years. Whether there's a slightly different grip on that is completely different. And at that point, maybe it is just the throw. Maybe it is just the action. Maybe he has overthought it so much. Or maybe he is just running into performances from a sport and a field of players that just continues to get better.
Possibly. But there are concerns now.
I think there are concerns for everybody, mate. Van Gerwen's just lost another final. Gerwen Price is beaten despite looking better than he has in the last couple of months than he has for the last 2 and a bit years. Nobody in this sport is safe right now. Nobody is perfect. Nobody has absolutely everything figured out. And that's a brilliant time to be here. Marcus Smith's injured. We don't know how significant that's going to play out. We've got players that were left out of the Premier League that feel like they should have been in, that are trying to prove a point. Players that are in there that perhaps are out of their depth a little bit right now. Players that are absolutely knackered already and it's only March.
Yeah, Bill, he did use them against Burnett. He bought them out for a couple of legs, but that was one of the switches. So, moving on. Quarter-final time of the UK Open. Andrew Gilding did a demolition job on Martin Schindler, 10-4. Michael Van Gerwen beat Nathan Aspinall 10-6. But barring 2 unbelievable finishes back-to-back, this game was a lot closer than that scoreline suggests, I think.
Yeah, 10-6 sounds generous, having watched the game. It felt like a game that could have gone either way. And MVG didn't look comfortable, as in, confident of victory for large parts of the game, didn't he? He looked like he was having to fight for it.
Yeah. Then this was a shock. Adam Gaulas beat Rob Cross 10-8. Gaulas, an absolute maximum machine in this game, doing a number on Cross. And at this point, Gaulas is into the semi-final.
Yeah, and I think he'd gone under the radar until this point. He'd won, but he hadn't won spectacularly against anyone that would have, where it would have made big news. There was, I think did he beat Willie O'Connor in the round before that, which, Willie O'Connor had played really well. Yeah. Relative, but it's not headline stuff, is it? For Gaulas to come through that game. But this is the point where he stopped going under the radar, if you like, and all of a sudden started having to be talked about on the TV and everywhere else, because he's beaten a world champion. He's in a semi-final.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Dimitri Van den Bergh, 10-2 winner over Richie Burnett. The run come to an end, and that's kind of what we thought might have happened, like Carl said there, against Peter Wright. But look, the first session, damage was done, and Dimitri had all the answers. Semi-final time, Andrew Gilding, 11-6 winner over Adam Gowlas. Look, Gowlas was just more pleased that he saved his tour card pretty much at this point. That his huge bulk of the work is done. Then Michael van Gerwen beat Dimitri van den Berg 11-6, setting up the final. Andrew Gilding against Michael van Gerwen.
The final we all predicted, if we're truthful, Phil, isn't it, really?
Yeah, we all saw this one coming. Look, there was key moments in this game, and I go back to the bit where I think it swung, was Michael missed 6 darts to go 9-6 up. And I think at that point, that was the turning point. I think at 9-6, it's done.
Yeah. For me, this was all about Van Gerwen building a significant lead, and at no point did he manage to do that. Did he manage to put Andrew Gilding so far away from victory that it was inevitable that Michael van Gerwen was going to lift this title? It almost feels a bit like last year as well, where the perception, there was a very, very strong favourite for that final. We all know who probably should have won that final after a very, very long weekend. And the longer that it stayed close, especially with the pace of Andrew Gilding and the way that he plays and how methodical he is, etc., it just made it difficult for Van Gerwen to keep going at him and to reel off those legs that he needed. Look, he has been gettable recently. The one downside to Van Gerwen's game right now has been his finishing. If he's losing games, it's because he's been down in the 20 to 30% on the checkouts, and it felt like that was the way to go back into this game. And we were in multiple WhatsApps all at once watching it. I felt, I was like, you all know exactly how this is going to happen now. Van Gerwen is going to mismatch darts because that's just the way this match has gone, and Gilding will take it out. And 2 legs later, bang.
And that, but Gilding 40% on his doubles in that final. That's for a final in that environment when you've never been there before against Michael van Gerwen, popping 40% of your doubles is an impressive feat of composure, in my opinion. And it's as much composure as it is darting talent to hit 40% in a final in those circumstances.
Yeah, and what a perfect time. And as if by magic, we are joined by the one, the only, Mr. Mark Webster.
How we doing, boys? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm a bit tired. I've been playing 5-a-side, but otherwise, can't complain.
Oh, can we talk about football then, Mark?
No.
we're a darts show today.
It's a hard broadcast, mate.
He's actually done a runner and left you to shoulder it.
I'll click off. Don't worry about that. If you mention it.
Webby, fresh off the UK Open, first of all, your thoughts of the tournament as a whole?
I think it was good. I mean, it generally runs like that, doesn't it? We have surprise finalists. It's not out the norm. We have surprise winners. I mean, that is a real surprise last night. But the youngsters playing big ties. One of my favourite things is watching the draw take place and the crowd get involved. I think it's a fantastic event, and you cannot predict who wins. You expect the usual suspects, but there's no, we've all done it. We look at, we'll all chat, say, well, that section of the draw looks good, that section, but there's no sections, is there? So again, look, I think it's many people's favourites just for the sort of lottery element of it. But I thought it was a good event, and I thought it was a good, great for Andrew Gilding. You know what I mean? His massive chance, and he took it. Fair play to him.
Yeah, look, a new role for you as well this weekend. Look, we've seen you do all the punditry work and everything like that, but doing the roaming reporting as well on the final day. First of all, did you enjoy it? And I'm guessing there was a few nerves.
Yeah, my heart was going like a good one when I did the runners-up interview with Michael. But you know what? I've said it so many times. The guy's a class act in defeat, and look, he was obviously upset, and he was brilliant. So yeah, it was something different. It was nerve-wracking. I'll find it slightly easier next time. But the players are good. They answer the questions, and they try their best. I had a good one with Nathan. I thought he was really good. Dimitri as well. Even Adam Gavlas, whose English isn't brilliant, was trying his best. So yeah, I enjoyed the role, and if I can help out in that capacity again, I will do.
Just on that, look, we all know that Andrew Gilding hasn't done a lot of media because he obviously hasn't won titles like the rest of them. Was that like an awkward, because there's not a lot coming back? Because I don't mind saying it. I interviewed him afterwards, and it's a graft because you're always fighting, just trying to get something out of him.
Yeah, look, he's out of his comfort zone, isn't he? I mean, some of us can just chat, and some of us can't. I mean, I wouldn't say Andrew Gilding's the only person who sort of stutters a little bit in the limelight, and you know, because he's won that now, he may get interviewed a little bit more, and he might open up a little bit more. So, it's nervy. It's not for everyone, is it? And some people don't know what to say. And the more he does it, you feel he'll open up a little bit more. But he's not the only player. Some have just got it, some haven't. But the more they do it, the better. But it's just part of it. We needed to get his reaction. And look, he got the point across that he was happy and that he was pleased with what he'd done. So that was enough for me.
110 grand and a major winner. Where do we place this win in the UK? Because we've had not surprise winners the last couple of years, but Danny Noppert as a victor as well. We see James Wade lifting the title the year before. Is the shock of the UK Open diminishing the tournament, I guess, a little bit? Because with view to the Premier League, the last three winners haven't been in off the back of their success.
I don't think diminishing, because you can't. The UK Open. I've listened to some of Matt Porter's interviews and I quite like it. They've never said a major winner guarantees you in these events. They've never. We just assumed, didn't we? We assumed because they've done it for so often, but it was never a criteria. And no, it's for Andrew Gilding. Andrew Gilding hasn't gone home and thinking I'm in the Premier League now. And I think most of us know, unless he goes on and wins and wins and wins, he won't be in the Premier League. But it doesn't matter. It's a massive win. And I don't see it being devalued, the UK Open. I think it's massive. It doesn't have the impact the Masters has because it's not played in January. But again, it's not set in stone that the winner of the Masters goes in the Premier League. It just so happens that the face is fitted every year. So, I think just the UK Open's still got a massive role in the year. And I love the event. I think it's really good.
The venue, obviously, we didn't have Reds this year. What was your thoughts on Studio 36? Did you like it?
No, I'd like Reds back, if I'm being honest, brutally honest. I mean, I think the venue, the board too, is if you were going to create an atmosphere in there, you should have stuck the other boards in there with it as well. The 3 to 8 could have gone in there with it. It's a big venue. It's a great venue, but it just wasn't for board 2. If it could have done the main board in a sense, but I was glad to see, obviously, you did an interview with Matt, didn't you, Phill? Yeah. Board 2 will be back. I like the Reds bar. I think it gets that little bit of atmosphere. And look, it was temporary, and I'm kind of glad it was temporary.
Yeah, look, the year's hotting up now as well. We've got majors, we've got Pro Tours, Euro Tours, Premier League. It's all hotting up now, isn't it? It's just kind of caught light the season. Yeah,
it does. And, you kind of, this is where players will start. You've done 4 Euro Tours. Well, you've completed the field for 4 Euro Tours. And they start eyeing up Blackpool now, don't they? That's the one. That's the one they're eyeing up. They're not, you're getting these Euro Tours. Yeah, it's great getting the European Championships, but the players' main priority is getting Blackpool at the minute. And I love seeing the scramble. I love seeing that. Obviously, the places changing spots. I think it's great. Steve Beaton's back in the mix again. When we're thinking he's coming in the seniors 18 months ago, and now he's going back up the PDC rankings. So. I like it, and like you said, it comes thick and fast. No time to settle. Premier League into ranking, into Euro Tour, and look, it's only good for the players and the brand, really.
A couple of people we spoke about earlier on in the year. Gary Anderson, we obviously spoke about him early on. There's a real fire and passion about him right now that we haven't seen for a while.
I think he's playing okay. Yeah, he is. I like the fact he gets the ump when he loses, because there's always that he doesn't care, but he does care a little bit. He should have beat Dimitri the other night. And he'll know that. He did well against Wade, especially because he got out in front, got pegged back, got in front, and got pegged back again. And sometimes he can that could be frustrating. But no, I felt his game's in a good place. He entered one of the Euro Tours, didn't get through, lost to Andrew Gilding.
Yeah.
But, it looks like he's going to play a bit more. So, yeah, fair play.
You mentioned how busy the tour is at the minute. You're across pretty much all of it. You're one of the people that are across both TV broadcasts. You do a lot of PDC TV. We're seeing you more Euro Tour. Does that mean we're less likely to see a return to the hockey for Mark Webster? Because the glimpses we have seen, You keep posting the 170 checkout. It's like a bad version of Matt Edgar. And banged in that 180 in the NFL challenge we saw as well, much to Stephen Bunting's delight. You saw his face in the background.
Stephen Bunting's face was an absolute picture when that went in. It was quite. It needs to be a meme. That does.
I mean, he wasn't. I mean, he didn't need to be too disheartened because he won earlier on. He won later on that night and won 50 grand. So cheer up, Stephen.
That's probably what. I think that's what. That was his motivation. That's what got him up for it. He couldn't take it twice in one day.
Yeah. Do you know what? The dart side. This is how serious I'm taking it in a minute. I'm lying on my bed while I'm doing this. My darts are down the side of the bed on the floor. But I'm actually. Do you know what? No, I won't be playing anytime soon. I like playing. Look, I've got an exhibition with Johnny, I think, coming up soon, which I look forward to. And because I do really try and beat him, but there's no bug. I had a little bug 3 weeks ago when I threw 4 nights on the trot, but I haven't thrown since. I might go down to the Super Series once the Premier League's complete. It's just bloody miles away, isn't it? So, yeah,
correct.
But just go through fads with it. It's still like if I see darts in a board, I've got to throw them if I walk past them. But in terms of competitiveness, no, I'm not the level that these guys are. So there's no point chasing a false dream. And unless I practice for a while and could try and get to some sort of level, I don't think there's any value in it. I've carved out a good career for myself at the minute, and I enjoy it. So, and I still stay involved, and I still see all my mates. So it's no different, except I'm not getting the umping bounds at 12:15 and I've been beat first round. I stay till the end.
Yeah, it's 6 o'clock when they're texting you going, "Oi, weren't you back me to win it?"
Shawnee Mack says, "Are you any good at five-a-side, Webby?"
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, it's it's 7-a-side actually. It's outdoors. I just call it 5-a-side. But yeah, I play it every Monday, and I go circuit 7-a-side, sevens. Yeah, I circuit train the hour before it, and then I play football for an hour. So Monday's my little kick when I shift the stodge of the weekend. So I enjoy it. To be fair.
Would you have asked to be subbed off at 5-0 yesterday, or would you have stayed on?
Pardon?
Would you have asked to be subbed off at 5-0 yesterday, like Fernandez, or?
Hey, 3-0. I'd have done the old, you hold the hamstring. I've done it before. I played once. We were playing against. There's a local team called Hollywell, and as soon as they went 2-0 up, and I know that when we're at home, there's not many showers, and I thought I'll just get in there for all the lads. Let's give it the old, get me off. I said I had a bad ankle. There was nothing wrong. I just wanted that shower on my own. We've got to play the game, haven't we? Yeah.
Oh, that's classic Webster. Your old mucker, Richie Burnett. What a fairy tale that was as well at the weekend. We've spoken about it, and he's introduced himself to a whole new audience that didn't know how good Richie Burnett is and was. Yeah,
do you know what? I was pleased for him, because obviously he got his tour card back last January, and he didn't really do a lot, did he? And he got in the Worlds, and then he battled his way through, scrapping. The win against Peter Wright was really good, and I'm delighted for him. Do you know, that £15,000 could be massive in keeping his tour card. And I think if he just, it's fact, isn't it? If he gets in the Worlds again, he'll keep it, and that's a great achievement in itself for someone who's had a bunch of speed bumps on the way. And look, I love the guy. He's just bonkers, isn't he? But I just like listening to him talk, and it was great to see. And obviously, Gilding aside, I think it was the story. Gilding was the story, but the other story was Richie.
Yeah, the pot noodle story as well was just genius.
Yeah, a genius is debatable, but yeah. I mean, who bleeds a radiator to try and fill their pot noodle? But yeah, I think we all know that. It's just the clown in it. Fair play. I think I played 4 World Cups with him, and he was just bonkers everyone. So yeah, good guy. Good to see.
Last one before we let you go, Webby. The Premier League, the format. We're obviously 5 weeks in now. What's your thoughts? Is it the last year of this one, do you reckon?
I don't know. It's just one of them, isn't it? If you said to me, would you want to change it? Like, I'd possibly change it a little bit, but to what really? I don't know. I think it's okay. There's always the risk of repeat fixtures. I know they shuffle them about, but if the same players won, you can repeat. But for now, it's one of them, isn't it? If you're in the venue, you're watching a tournament, so it's fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you're following it like obviously we do, there's maybe a cause for change. But the PDC generally, they move things at the right time and the right time, don't they? They change things at the right time. And I mean, for me, I'd like to see a few more players. If I'm being honest, I think there's a lot of players of quality that could compete in that, and it's testament to how good they all are. So yeah, there's always PDC are always looking at it. I think they've said that themselves. But for me, obviously it's going to ride out this year. I think they may carry on next year. I don't know, but we'll see, won't it? Because obviously, if more players put themselves in the window and they're completely, you cannot leave them out, then you have to adapt, don't you?
Absolutely. Webby, thank you very much for playing football and joining us straight away, lad. Pleasure as always. And I'll see you on Thursday in Liverpool.
Thursday. Enjoy. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Cheers, Webby, lad.
Hey, mate.
The one, the only, Mr. Mark Webster, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, he's added himself back in again. Mark Webster, pleasure to have him on. And before we kind of not move on, but we won't do him a disservice because we always put the image up. This is an image that I never, ever thought that we would see, boys.
Neither did he. Yeah, genuinely, like, so one of the things I looked at today, because yes, he's won a TV major big event, like huge achievement, but I've been a bit of a geek and I was like looking at like other little things, and one of the other things that he's done, and when you look at the list of players that he's joined that have done that, it's almost a more impressive list than the list of people that have won major events on telly. Is he has become one of a very select few people who have beaten Michael van Gerwen in a television final. And when you look at what that list of people is made up of, there's some very, very... first of all, it's quite a short list. And there's some very special dart players in there. And he's managed to add himself into that list as well of people that have... and people can talk about the draw all day long and his route to the final. But in order to lift the trophy, he's had to replicate what it previously had taken the likes of Raymond van Barneveld in his peak, and Phill Taylor and Robert Thornton and Michael Smith and all. It's a very select few people that have beaten Michael van Gerwen on television in a major final, and he's added himself to that. That easy. You can talk about the draw all day long, but there are not many people that have done that.
Yeah, right. We're going to play a little clip of his winner's interview as well.
I had no idea. Everyone had written me off.
Everyone was like, this is Michael's final to lose and everything like that.
Yeah, I thought when he was playing Dimmy, I thought they must be thinking happy days because they got me in the final and I never won anything. But I didn't think about that when I was playing.
It's class, right? It's I think there's a humility about the way he's approached it. It's quite beautiful. It's quite sort of it's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, we're going to play some clips from interviews from the UK because there's a few talking points off of them. So first of all, we're going to go with the man at the moment, Mr. Richie Burnett, because this is just brilliant.
No, you want it more and more. It's like an addiction. It is. Like I say, it's winning. Winning is an addiction. It's not good going up there and putting the performance on and losing, because that doesn't get you anywhere. So today, I'm happy.
The older generation know how good you were in your prime. Are you now opening up a younger audience to this version of Richie Burnett and showing them how good Richie Burnett is?
Yeah, like I said earlier, Phil, I'm getting to the twilight of my career. I can come on, I can sit in there and have a laugh. Years ago, I'd be like a tiger because it was competitive. I can still play though. I'm not there to lose. I'm here to enjoy myself. And at your peril, don't underestimate me.
Can't even stand still when he's talking.
He is just honestly trying to frame him up was an absolute nightmare.
It's 30 seconds away. Booting the advertising wall behind it.
Yeah. From there, we're going to go to Joe Cullen. First time that we've spoken to him this year.
I think it's in a good place.
had a bit of a slow start to the season, the first couple of Pro Tours, but I think that was a lot down to obviously missing out in the Premier League, and I was a bit of a sulky fella. But after that, I think I played well. Even the games I'm losing, I seem to be playing okay. So yeah, I'm happy with my games out at the minute, but there's always room for improvement.
You touched on that. How much did the Premier League rejection hurt?
Yeah. Well, he was kicking the balls, wasn't it? That's what I said. It is what it is. I think a couple of the selections, maybe. No, in fact, I'm not even going to go there. In fact, I'm not going to go there because there'll be some sort of title on your part, Phill. So I'm not even going to go there. I was gutted not to be in, but good luck today, they're in.
Joe, pleasure as always, lad. Thank you very much.
Nice one, cheers, Phill.
Just caught himself there, didn't he?
He almost went, didn't he?
As Phill Barnes furiously sharpened his pencil.
He's just put a dart on the wire, walk, thinking it's in, and go, whoa! Back in.
He almost went. So from that, there's a couple of selections he's not happy about. Oh, that little gear fight went no, Joe, no, Joe.
And we know which four it isn't. So
he almost went. No, look, fair play to him. He kept his restraint in the end, and he was the one that brought it up. I just went off of what he said. But yeah, look, pleasure. Now we've got an injury update from Bully Boy.
First of all, how are you? Health concerns at the Euro Tour? I know you were going to say I'm going to battle on and everything like that, but first of all, just how are you and how is the wrist?
No, it's good. I've still got a bit of a pain. I'm just still taking tablets for it now, but you just seen that I didn't wince once or just pull my face, laughing and smiling, and yeah, I've still got the pain there, but it doesn't affect me as much. The first round at the European last week, they'd kill me. Even the second game against Dirk, it'd kill me, but no, I will never quit. And when you text me saying you are, I said, no, I'll never give up, I'll never quit, and you see why.
Basically, it still hurts, but he's going to carry on playing.
yeah, in short, yeah, it's knacks, but I'm going to carry on.
Yeah. This is the clip from Peter Wright, which is interesting as well.
No, nowhere near. No, but I played all right there in that last half of the match. If you looked at the averages in the last half of the match, it was pretty decent. But the first half was rubbish. But But if I can do what I've done there, if the other thing is, I'm just not happy with any darts, to be honest, at the moment. So it's just so that's just one of them things.
Not happy with any dart.
You wonder what it's going to take, though, don't you? Like where he's at the minute. What's he got to do with any set of darts in order for him to think, these are the ones? And then the moment that he has a bad leg with him, it's hard to see any sort of real change in mindset on the horizon, isn't it, when he's like that?
Yeah, this is a good one from Adrian Lewis as well, about being pampered, not being used to the outside boards.
It's very difficult on those doubles. I'm not going to lie. Because obviously, when you play on Pro Tour, you've literally got you're in a cubicle. But when you're in there, you've got the crowd, you've got everybody taking the doors out. So you try and focus on the treble, you can see everybody going past. Oh no, I've been pampered too much, I think.
Yeah. Does that take you back to when you were a young pro coming through, being out there?
No, it doesn't. It takes me back to when I won the Worlds and they put me on ball 5. I was world champion at the time. They put me on ball 5. So yeah, but it's very difficult in there.
It is chaos, though, isn't it? I think if you haven't been in there and experienced it, it's complete chaos. And I suppose that for someone the type of career that he's had, he hasn't had to do a lot of that, has he? He's been a player that hasn't had to go through a huge amount of those environments for a long time, anyway.
Yeah,
I think that's where I don't recall ever watching a UK pin in Bolton, but that is where an argument for a Bolton-style venue does become that little bit stronger, or perhaps even MK behind closed doors. Is the boards weren't in a row. There was space staggered around behind them. You can build up a little crowd behind you, but there's nobody down the sides. There's nobody in your vision. There's nothing. And I guess they do that view so that you can watch as many of those multi-boards all at once. It works in the space that they've got. But if they were to move it to Studio 36 perhaps and have 3 down one side, 3 down the other side, or 2, 2 and 2 across 3 sides of the room, with enough barriers that you don't get down the side of each board, but enough where you could see a lot and turn around and whatever. I think that might just make that multi-board room that little bit better for the players. Not so much for the fans. It's difficult to watch all 6 at that point. If you are front row of board 6 at the multi-board room, you can see every single board all at once. You just have to look across. If you're a few rows back, perhaps not. But that is possibly that one argument that actually, with players walking past and walking behind you and all that sort of stuff, the only thing then you've got to be wary of is a pocket of noise, which you can get used to. You know those sort of shouts are coming. You get them at opens and that sort of thing all the time. You don't particularly get a roar on the Pro Tour, but there might be the odd bit you have to realise anyway.
Yeah. Right, now we've got 2 clips from the Matt Porter interview to play. We'll play them back to back and then we'll discuss.
So we're sat in red.
Yeah.
Normally, where
this should be board 2.
Where stage 2 is.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I think.
Yeah, well, it's different, isn't it? Listen, people generally are resistant to change. I mean, look, I can confirm that this change is temporary.
Yeah.
It's because of the building work that's going on here at Butlins, where they've taken away. They've had to demolish a building which was essentially the practice facility and the offices for the event. They needed to be rehoused somewhere else. There was an alternative for board 2 this year, but board 2 will be back in Reds for both November at the Players' Championship finals and next March for the UK Open. So it's a temporary thing. I appreciate it might not be to everybody's taste. It's only a couple of days. Come on, guys, you'll be all right.
But it's just not that intimate feel.
Yeah, the low ceiling that you get in this room gives you that intimacy. You don't get that in the new venue. Look, it's a one-off. It's a one-off. We'll be back in here for board 2 for both November and next March.
Pretty darling. 2 seconds.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, look, we felt that Luke hadn't done enough on TV in the latter half of 2022. I think he would probably agree with that. He would have perhaps, I'm sure, hoped to have done a bit more than he did. We're also very conscious of making sure that if we were to put somebody in the Premier League, that it's absolutely the right time for them. I'm convinced Luke Humphries will be a Premier League player in the future, whether it's next year, the year after, but in the not too distant future. He's got the talent, he's got the character, he's got the personality. We just made a call that this year wasn't quite right for him, so we have to make those decisions, and I spoke to Luke about it. He was disappointed, but he accepted it.
At least there's some clarification.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Like, big call, but he's made the call and he's owned it and come out and said it, and yeah, fair play.
I don't think they've ever not done that, to be fair to the PDC. Look, I don't want to become some sort of show that just sits here and appeases them and says that every decision they ever make is right. But at least they will front up to an awful lot of that when we do get the opportunity to sit down with Matt or Barry or anyone else that does represent the PDC in that instance, is that if they've made a decision, they generally have some sort of logic or justification behind it. We don't have to agree with it. And that does open up that if you're questioning what Luke has done in the back end of the year on TV, then perhaps you question how much of a hole the PDC dug themselves with previous Masters invites.
Oh, massively.
Because by saying that about Luke, you're pretty much not saying it, but saying it about perhaps Chris Dobie's chance as well, and going, actually, there's a lot of attention on Luke, and there was a lot of talk about him being in there, but a player that did even less than Luke on TV in the last 6 months, apart from that Masters win, which is a big part of it, granted, was then given that spot instead.
But it can work 2 ways, and there's only going to be a very small number of people that really know. Is that if they really wanted Luke Humphries in, and he was the only contentious one, then they'd have made that decision before the Masters, and it would have just been done. Whereas if they weren't convinced, and if they were a bit 50-50, like they've obviously, they've waited and waited and waited, and then they've allowed a scenario to come to pass whereby anyone could have won the Masters that wasn't already in the Premier League conversation, which is what happened. And it's then offered them an out on Luke Humphries. They could have still stuck with Luke Humphries. Luke Humphries could still have got in the Premier League after Dobie won. And let's be honest, it wouldn't have been massively contentious, but clearly there was something, that he was already cuspy. They must already have been thinking 50-50 about keeping him in.
Look, the challenge tour is a difficult one, isn't it? Like, yes, did he shut the complaints down? Yeah. But that's now down to the players and the PDPA to force the issue. Would you agree, boys? That's what the PDPA are there for.
Look, whenever we have brought those sort of complaints to the PDC in the past, that is generally their response, is to shut it down and to effectively, at that point, tell us everything is perfect. They won't acknowledge discrepancies or badness. It will just be down to personal opinions and this is the way we do things, etc. But then in the back end of things, they might go away and work on stuff. We're still awaiting news on the World Cup of Darts that we were promised big changes for since last year. They did the survey, etc. We were constantly told that no, this is the way, etc. If we suddenly get an announcement of a change in format for the World Cup in the next couple of weeks, they've got to go and work on it, and that's just one example of the way that they will do things.
Yeah, there's a difference between appeasement.
We don't like the World Cup, or we don't like the way we do things. But actually, if there is a chance to improve things, they'll work on it, and then they'll announce it as late as possible. Go, oh, we're doing this because of this.
Yeah, there's a difference between appeasement and sort of taking it on and going away and thinking it through properly and coming up with a strategy, isn't it? It's not just a case of listening to everybody's moans and going, fine, okay, then there you go. Because you start to create a situation for themselves there that they probably wouldn't want to be in. But yeah, if you can take it on board, keep it in the back of your mind while you're looking at the continuous improvement of what your offering is. And it's one element of what that continuous improvement is, alongside how commercially viable things are and everything else, and the logistics of things operate. And then, that's how you run an organisation properly, isn't it, really?
Yeah, like Matt will sit there and defend their Premier League format right now, as he has done. He did it last year. They justified it being reused this year. And as part of the interview, he got involved on social media with somebody saying you need to change that format. And he went, that's your opinion. If we all have the same one, then the world would be a very boring place. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that the Premier League format will change next year, as it stands right now.
I'm with you.
They're missing out on players. And I do not doubt in one sense that the PDC have already looked at it after 5 weeks and gone, let's come up with something different for next year. Let's start having that session or put a session in where we come up with something new for the Premier League next year, where we can get more players in, where venues are happy, where broadcasters are happy. If we return to something else, I have absolutely no doubt that will happen. But as it stands, the PDC are not going to sit here and go, no, actually, you're right, lads, this is bollocks.
Yeah, it's rubbish, isn't it? Like, yeah, we'll try again. What do you think? You tell us what to do. Like, send your suggestions on a postcard. We'll put them all in out and pull one out and do that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, right, Premier League talk. First of all, we are going to go back to last week in Exeter, boys. As Michael Van Gogh. It's a dump.
You're a dump.
It is shite. It's freezing cold. It's a tin shed in the middle of nowhere.
I'm apparently going there next year, and I'm not like. I was a little bit excited about it, but I mean, I'm northern. Someone said I might have to take a coat with me, but I'm not sure. I very much doubt it.
We'll have a beer coat, Dan. We'll have a beer coat, mate.
Absolutely.
First up, MVG beat Gilding Price. It was fairly comfortable. Nathan Aspinall beat Michael Smith. Good game between the pair.
Yeah, 6-3 is a bit generous, isn't it? I think it's it was a better game than that, and it was a bit tighter than that. Nathan played very well.
And then what a game between Dimitri Vandenberg and Chris Dobie. We've got a clip to play from Dobes because he spoke to us afterwards. But again, welcome to the Premier League, Chris Dobie.
Yeah, it's tough to play so well and not, and get well beat. 6-3, as we said, it was generous there. It's very generous here, I think. But yeah, difficult. Average nearly 105, and not really come within a shot of or come close to victory. But right, that is the Premier League, and that's the standard, isn't it?
Yeah. And Mace says it there. A lot of people, why do they go to Minehead? It's the only place close enough to Minehead to get staff, players, production, everything to the UK Open. And then Peter Wright losing 6-5 to Johnny Clayton. At this point, boys, snakebite is pointless. We'll come on to him before we talk about Liverpool this week. Semi-finals, MVG beats Nathan Aspinall.
We're talking about Liverpool this week.
And then Johnny Clayton beats Dimitri van den Berg. Set up the final. MVG gets the better of Johnny Clayton in the final, and I couldn't even be bothered to crop that horrific photo. It's just the old in front of the ball, and it's just like, oh. But MVG, first player to win 2 nights and back-to-back as well. All eyes are on Liverpool as we head to the Echo Arena this week. Always good.
It's not the Echo anymore.
It'll always be the Echo.
Same way Bolton will always be the JJB, but it's actually the Tough Sheet.
The what?
Bolton has been renamed the Tough Sheet Arena.
It's not the J, it's the Reebok, mate. That's right, it's the Reebok.
Oh, Wigan was JGB, yeah, same thing.
Yeah. They've got
it's
they've got a Premier Inn that looks onto the pitch. I sometimes use for work when I'm working in Bolton. It's dreadful.
Don't lie to us, Dan. You've never stayed at a Premier Inn in your life.
I have when someone else is paying.
Because they don't have a pillow menu.
Hey,
someone else is paying, and don't forget, often when I travel, it's on taxpayers' money as well. So I have to be careful where that money gets spent.
No Hiltons on that one.
I can't collect any honours points, can I, on taxpayers' money? Absolutely not.
But we are off to Liverpool this week, and here are the fixtures. Chat room, get involved. Doesn't get any easier for Peter Wright. Going Price up first for him. Michael Van Gogh and Johnny Clayton in a repeat of last week's final. Chris Dobie against Nathan Aspinall, Michael Smith against Dimitri van den Berg. Are we getting worried for Peter Wright in this year's Premier League yet, boys? Because he may be pointless at halfway.
Yeah, this isn't the fixture you'd want, is it? And I at the end of it, last week, I just sort of flicked ahead, look at next week's fixtures. And if you were Peter Wright, this isn't the fixture that you'd want, I would have thought. Not the way that Price has been playing in the Premier League. I appreciate he's only won the one night, but his standard has been very good. He'll probably get some stick in Liverpool as well, I would expect. So you never quite know what that'll produce in terms of him being up for it. But yeah, not the opening game you would want if you were Peter Wright, I'd wager.
Where are we going? Price or Wright?
That, by the way, he's winless through 5 weeks now. After 4 weeks, we're going, it's still early days. That represents a quarter of the tournament, right? Lost last week. This is now night 6. His next 4 fixtures, it's not just about tonight, by the way. He plays Gerwyn Price this week. He plays Michael Van Gerwen next week. The week after is week 8, which is where it is based on your table position. That's, at the moment, looking very likely to be Peter Wright against Michael Van Gerwen. And week 9, the start of the second phase of the tournament, or the second half of the tournament where the fixtures flip, he plays Gerwyn Price again. He's got Price, Van Gerwen, Price back to back in his opening rounds. He could be 9 weeks without a win. It's not. This is danger time for Peter Wright.
Yeah, because
it's not just week 4. Like there was. You don't need to panic. It's a long format.
He's going to start those games as well, Gob. It's certainly let's say in the eyes of the bookies, he's going to start the next 4 weeks as second favourite, isn't he?
Easily.
Like that's so he's going to have to upset someone like. Otherwise, he's for it, isn't he? 4 weeks on the bounce.
That's just to get a win on the board. That's just for 2 points.
Yeah.
You've then got to go up against God knows who else.
Whoever you've got, who's just come through a victory and is playing quite well.
This week would be Van Gerwen or Johnny Clayton. Next week would be Chris Dobie or Michael Smith. Look, I get it's the Premier League. I get you're going to get tough fixtures everywhere. But it's just not getting any easier for Peter Wright, who has completely lost his head with his darts, or so it seems. That was possibly more changes in that format than we've seen from him in a very, very long time. He's struggling to get comfortable with anything. is still going to rock up on stage with whatever outfit, etc. he wants to try and relate to the area, but it's just not going to feel comfortable at all. Yeah. And against Price, Van Gerwen, likely Van Gerwen, and then Price again, and then he runs into Michael Smith the week after. He's literally got the last 3 world champions in the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
No gimmies, is there?
Having said that, Price all right. Price. Repeat or revenge? MVG, Johnny Clayton.
MVG.
I'm going to say Johnny. I'm backing Johnny a lot at the minute, and I think he's going to come good.
There were some glimpses last week of that Premier League Johnny Clayton presence on the stage, wasn't there?
Yeah.
If he can carry some of that through against a potentially wounded MVG after the other night, depending how quickly he can turn himself around psychologically ahead of Thursday. But I get it, but I just think he'll kick back in the Michael and get it done.
Yeah, he loses to Schindler in the UK Open as well, but for a player of Johnny's caliber to have not graced the main stage once either, by the way, was bizarre. Look, I get it's Van Gerwen, but he played every single one of his matches on that main stage.
You sound surprised.
But there are sessions where viewing figures are going to drop or whatever anyway. Like, let's rotate it a bit.
I'm actually with you on this one. The top 4 don't need to play on the main stage every session at the UK, but I agree with you.
And look, you can leave 3 of them on there. You can rotate them in, and stage 2 is good enough, especially in that other room or even in Reds. Like, it is not terrible. On the outer boards, I sort of get it. They've earned that right. But the rest of it...
I'm with you. Dobie Aspinall.
Dobie.
Duh.
Should get a little sign hold up. Like, Dan predicts Dobie for 17 weeks. There we go.
It's like Phill in a green T-shirt.
Yeah, broken clock is wrong twice a day.
To be fair, I actually think Dobie will get the job done here as well.
I think he hasn't played badly. Played superbly last week. Right? Played absolutely brilliant. Only didn't get through the first game. Like, he played good. He played well at the weekend. Like, he hasn't, in terms of his averages and actual throwing of darts, he's maintained quite well the form that he sort of hit at the Masters and then into that early stage of the Premier League. What that hasn't manifested in lots of winning of games, but his game is right there.
Yeah. No, I agree. What are you saying, Gob?
I am quite concerned for Dobie right now. His form is matching that of his football club. They're on the slide. Look, winless since week 1 is becoming a bit of a concern for me with Chris Dobie. As Dan said, look, he's not played badly, but Kim Hybrechts didn't play badly in his last year in the Premier League. He averaged well over 95, 96, and he only won 2 games all season, granted, in the old format, but he had a stinker. Mensur Suljovic was very, very similar in his first season. He struggled to get wins on the board despite playing very, very well. Chris Dobie's not been in this position before. There's an argument that perhaps he was in the same category as Luke Humphries and not quite ready for this, but the PDC followed their pattern of what they've gone with. They set a precedent for the last couple of years with the Masters. Week 1, absolutely massive for Dobie. Points on the board, solid run, but he has to start accumulating more right now. And look, this is an opportunity. Aspinall loves a scrap. We know that. We love chucking that narrative at him. But if he doesn't come through this one, I am increasingly concerned that Dobie might just start getting cut away at the bottom with Peter Wright. Dimmy's playing at a much better pace. I think Johnny Clayton's mixing it up a lot more now. You've already got the players in the top 4. There's a chance it becomes the top 6 racing for 4 and 2 others, and Dobie needs a win very, very quickly, especially as I think Aspinall will be beaten this week.
Smith against Vandenberg, an intriguing game. Michael Smith not fully fit. Dimitri Van den Berg playing some very, very good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a dimmy, this one. For the aforementioned, like for those reasons, because we know that Michael Smith isn't quite at 100%, and he's going to just hit Dimmy. I think when Dimmy is on a bit of a run of form, playing well, his throw seems in a really good place. The way that he's hitting the stage, especially in that Premier League environment, his attitude seems to very much suit that sort of scenario and that format at the moment. So yeah, I think it'll be tight. It'll be 6-4, 6-5, but Dimmy, I think.
Yeah, I'm going Dimmy as well. There's a lot to like about his game right now. Just the pace and the change in style has just freed him up so much more. And for the players, he's gone from being annoying because he's slow to annoying because they just can't get rid of him. They can't brush him off. And he's just irritating.
The way he moves around the stage, he's become, those sort of excitable players that irritate other darts players, the way that they sort of move around the stage and skip and wink and look around too much. And he's just edging into that scenario, isn't he? Sort of almost becoming irritating for all the opposite reasons.
Yeah. At the same time, he's playing some fantastic darts. It's just so much better to watch. Yeah, I'm very happy he's gone down this route because I've been quite critical of him in the past, knowing that this was in the locker. I think people did the same with Justin Pipe. He's played events where he actually just got on with it and averaged spectacularly, but he went back to what was comfortable with him. And the fact that he can do this, and he's doing so, and he's looking pretty comfortable in doing so, is being competitive. I don't think if I'm being honest, I don't think he would be any higher in the table if he was still playing the other way. And I think he just spent 16 weeks being the one that was isolated in the group of 8 because look, they do travel together, they spend an awful lot of time in practice rooms together, etc. I don't think he's done himself any harm changing his pace. It makes him much more attractive to sponsors, much more attractive for World Series picks, to retain his spot in the Premier League in the future. And he's taking this game elsewhere as well. He is slowing down in the very, very key moments. Fine. Absolutely no objection with that. Never had any objection with that. It was just when it was every other visit or every other leg that it became a little bit annoying.
Yeah. So, chat room, boys, I want your finalist and winner for night 6 at the M&S Bank Arena on Liverpool Docklands.
Did I do the Fallout on Thursday?
Yes.
Did I say Wednesday? I think I've got a completely different... But we do have the entire UK Open there too.
You've had a full weekend of darting action with which to
sway, in my opinion,
sway your view, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm now going for Gerwyn Price to beat Dimitri Van den Berg in the final. And I definitely did not have that on Thursday.
Yeah, well, I sort of agree with you on one of the finalists because Chris Dobie beats Gerwyn Price.
I'm agreeing with one of you.
Hello.
It's not going to be me.
Gerwyn Price beats Dimitri Van den Berg in the final.
But I think we've interesting. We have all got Price as a finalist, and if let's be honest. I'm picking Dobie to beat Price, but Price is the player I really fancy to do something in Liverpool. I think he certainly makes the final for me.
Right, we've also got a clip from Chris Dobie taken from Exeter. He was good enough to come in and speak to us, and it's just about his mindset.
It can, but I said in previous interviews, the game where I felt I threw away against Rob Cross at the match play, I think that's turned my motivation to get my game where it should be. And like I said, the games I'm playing now and losing, there's nothing wrong with that. It's only a matter of time before these losers turn into wins, and I believe that I can turn this around and hopefully get some wins under my belt.
He knows where his game's at, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look, he's not shying away or anything like that.
I quite like how many players are saying that right now. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with people being happy with losses, but I think that just shows how open the sport is again. It's not, I should have been better. It's actually, if I am losing games, it's because the other player has done something special. A lot of players seem to be content that they are producing a base level of decent darts right now, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, agreed. So that's the Premier League. What else did we have? Just on the icy conditions in Exeter. Price obviously spoke about it. What did I put? Did I get that clip in? Did I? No.
On job, Philip.
2 seconds.
While we wait, let's talk about football.
all year it's been a dark show.
I tell you what we could
so
do.
Much abuse from some of the boys last night going, where have you been all season? I was like, look, I've just been busy.
The only football we really need to discuss tonight is to have a conversation about who is currently leading the prestigious online darts fantasy Premier League.
I'll be honest. I didn't. I just turned the notifications off of it. I've stopped bothering like I do every bloody season.
Do you want to know where you are? You are in the league, Bob?
Out of 55.
Crikey, I tell you what, I've had to scroll somewhere to find you.
I'm ahead of Phill Bars though.
Well, yeah, because I've updated my team since week 2.
Me neither.
Oh, just just getting. Oh, where has he gone?
My team. I've started Luis Diaz and Jesus. They haven't been fit for 9 weeks.
50th, Jack Howard.
I know. I've had Luis Diaz in my team since week 1. He's been out since before the World Cup.
44th, Cam McFarlane. 22, Liam Riley. Oh, this is like, I tell you what, the rest of the team is putting in I'm carrying you all on my back. Lee Boyce in 11th.
You are second by a point, though.
I'm not, mate. If you look at tonight's scores.
He's doing it on the slide. That's why his internet went earlier. He was in play.
By the time the bonus points have been added tonight, I will be 2 points clear at the top of the league.
Long may it continue.
Excited about whatever Mr. Bars has organised for a prize.
Right.
I think it's also a Palmo at my house as well, so I might just be taking myself out at the end of it.
I think that was what the prize was.
I think that's what we said at the beginning, wasn't it?
Right. Icey in Exeter, and it was cold. This is Gezzy's take on it.
But even yesterday in the Premier League and in the practice room, that's how I was practicing. And today, me and Michael was practicing together, and we were the same thing. Yeah, I don't like to blame much, but it's difficult when obstacles are in front of you. And
we know it's freezing last night.
That's not just cold, but it's just a breeze coming across the stage. I mean, you shouldn't have to play in that, and it is difficult. And when you're sort of thinking that something's going to happen rather than you just throwing darts, it gets a little bit difficult. But yeah, I'm glad I came here. This was the main event for me. Obviously, I wanted to go and do well in the Premier League, but these ranking points are vital, and hopefully, I can go and pick this trophy up.
Obviously, he didn't, but the fact that it remains that it wasn't great in Exeter, condition-wise, to play. I know we laugh and joke about
it realistically, because because it's just logistics, isn't it? Like, it's the only reason that it's there. Is there anywhere else, realistically, Phil, that's down that part of the country that would work, that would support getting everything to Minehead as it needs to, but also then do a Thursday night?
Only Bristol when it's finished.
Yeah, the new arena in Bristol when it's finished. But that's still 18 months away.
So at least another year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Castle Shed. I'll tell you where they could put it. Studio 36.
4 night, add an extra night onto your UK tour package?
Yeah. They could play it at Butlins. I know they want that cut off and that semblance of 2 different TV production teams.
That's the issue.
Crikey, can you imagine that? Yeah.
It's getting all the cameras in for a day for the Premier League to de-rig and get them set up again. Ahead of
everyone nicking each other's extension leads and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree that you could have it in Butlins. you couldn't because of the breakdown setup.
Well, not at the moment, but isn't there going to be a point when PDC bring everything in-house and just send it out to the channels?
Possibly. I could see it going that way. If that happens, then yeah. But look, it was ridiculous.
Tonight, Butlins exhibition with the Premier League. Yes, Paul Starr will MC the Premier League. It is tungsten time at Butlins Minehead.
Also, some fairly big news in the world of darts over the weekend. Wessel Nyman returned to competitive action after serving his suspension and played some damn good darts as well.
Yeah, he won 7 matches to win the title.
Yeah, and some ton plus averages in there as well. For as far as comebacks go, that's decent.
Yeah, tough.
He certainly couldn't grumble about the standard of darts that he pulled out, regardless of whether you've got grumbles about anything else. But you know, it's certainly played well.
Yeah, I had a quick chat with him as well. He is going to play Dev Tour this year. He'll be a danger.
Is he still young enough for that?
Yeah.
22.
Damn.
I believe. I'm sure I read he was 22.
Would you think before his misdemeanor, he was very well placed in that Dev Tour?
Yeah. That Dev Tour is going to be interesting this year. Especially as there's 13 tour card holders on it.
They need developing. Go.
Also, another point that we speak about regularly on the show, Matt confirmed that the reason Corey and Christian Perez aren't playing at the moment is they haven't got the correct paperwork.
Nothing, not a great deal. Well, absolutely nothing the PDC or anyone else can do about that beyond like the players, potentially their management, and the Foreign Office. Like that is it. Like there is nothing that anybody can do, barring. Well, yeah, that's it.
But yeah, obviously we were surmising on what it was, but Matt confirmed that they're sorting out visa problems. Also, as well, Mace says it there as well. A little cut of ball. Luke Littler will be on the Dev Tour this year as well.
Him, Banks. Look, they did mention
dangerous
it.
Luke Littler on the Dev Tour.
Mason Webby did a great piece.
And the one that I think a lot of people are forgetting that is eligible. If Bo Greaves rocks up to that Dev Tour as well.
Yeah.
I hope she does. I really hope she does.
Oh, a lot of people hope she does.
It throws. I mean, cat amongst the pigeons. You know, it certainly throws a lot of questions on because obviously she's becoming, you know, one of the biggest names in darts. There isn't playing PDC events I don't like, but if she starts turning up to those Dev Tours and posting some of the averages and playing the way that we know she can and often does, then that gets really, really interesting really quickly.
I think we can use it as a very, very good measuring stick. There's been a lot of hyperbole around Bo Greaves and her performances, and there was a lot of sensationalism when she was winning events last year that she could go to Q School, pick up a tour card, and be in the top 32 in the world. I still think some of that was a stretch. You get some outrageous takes on social media. You get some people that are just looking to be the one that gets more likes and clicks than anybody else. And to do that and stand out, you have to be even more sensational than the previous comment or opinion or whatever else. But that Dev Tour is full of a ridiculous, as I said, there's 13 tour card holders on it at the moment. You've got other players that are coming into it. Luke Littler and Thomas Banks are now finally old enough. You've got the likes of Leighton Bennett's on there and but it's a good form.
Is that, do you think, Gob, the environment in which we will, because like we know how good Bo Greaves is in terms of we looked at events that she's played and she's won them and we've seen the average. In terms of playing really competitive matches regularly and being pushed, having to come from behind in games, all that sort of stuff. Do you think that's where we really find out how good she is.
Yeah.
And where she finds that out as well.
Yeah. I just look at the players that have been on there, the performances. The likes of Cam Crabtree is a ridiculous time. With all due respect to the women's game and the women's series right now, there are moments in events and games where Bo doesn't need to turn up. She can rock up with a B or a C game without being pushed, banging a couple of trebles when she's under it potentially, and still walk away as the winner. You're going to have to be on that from Dart 1 on that Dev Tour, because that draw is brutal. Them boards are brutal. Like, Rusty Jake Rodriguez finished 17th on the order of merit last year.
Yeah.
Fabian Schmutzler, the year before, rocked up when he was first eligible to play on the Dev Tour, won multiple events in Germany and was at the World Championship. He finished 39th last year.
Yeah, you know, I was just having a look down there, and even if you just look at the names in the top 30 in the Dev Tour, like, there's real players in there. Real players. And
Adam
that
Gallagher,
is
the former World Youth Championship finalist, I made the semi-final of the UK Open this weekend. He finished 22nd on the development tour last year.
Yeah.
It is brutal, and it is just as boisterous, and in fact, I'd say it's even more of a bear pit than the Pro Tour, because there are so many in there with absolutely no fear and getting used to it and just having a crack and being in that environment. And there is that camaraderie that you see on that development tour as well. And it's just, if you rock up and start performing against these boys or players or however you want to describe those on the development tour, you've got a real chance of that translating later in PDC events. And Challenge Tour is at her age as well. I think not going to Q-School and playing 2 days of Challenge Tour is a better measure of where she's at.
But the other thing as well, and so Mace just mentioned one there, and it's on the screen. But a current PDC average puts her in the top 10 of last year's Dev Tour. But also, because you've got tour card holders that have a tour card in the development tour, that tour card race that happens within the development tour isn't number one, isn't number two, isn't number three. You know, like that. Looking at last year's, that's 5 and 6. So is that the route to a tour card for Bo Greaves without going through Q School? Because if that's where a game is top 10 Dev Tour, and top 10 Dev Tour is going to get you. You don't need to win it. You need to finish second, third, or fourth.
Well, the interesting thing as well is Josh Rock at the moment is still eligible to play the Dev Tour in the first half of the year at least. Look, the likelihood is he will go into the 32 and then become uneligible. But those first few Dev Tours, potentially you've got Josh Rock floating around as well.
He's not had it all his own way to start this year either, by the way. Let's not forget that. There is a known entity now in Josh Rock. People are aware of him. There's no catching people off guard. Even Rob Cross, the year he won the World Championship, people had been aware of Rob Cross for a while, but it was still that newness of Rob Cross. The minute February rolled around the following year, that shock factor of Rob Cross seemed to have disappeared that little bit. I think once you've had that full year, you get through that World Championship. After that sort of disappears now. And Josh will walk back into this environment with a huge target on his back.
Yeah,
World Youth Champion, and spending the entire time saying, watch me go and win the main one now as well. There'll be a lot of guys in here going, actually, hang about, mate. We're still good enough to bring you down to have you at this level.
No, Ben, it's not the top 32 at the start of the year. It's if you go into the top 32, you become ineligible. Because didn't it happen to Callan that he could play?
Jeffrey Desvan did it.
Desvan as well. He played part of it and then went into the top 32 and was then uneligible.
Ineligible, yeah. Because you can't predict, can you? And you can't give someone it for the rest of the year. So it's the only realistic way to do it. Well, everyone's got a view on that, haven't they? But
yeah. But yeah, look, it's interesting. Look, question time as well. Whilst have we missed anything else in a week of darts? But whilst we work that out, get your questions in as well, everyone.
Just a busy one for me, personally. Friday night, I was MC for the Nottingham Varsity event between Trent and Union. I've managed to work with Paul Hinks as referee, Robert Thornton and Matt Edgar on the exhibition side. Really, really good night once again. I know one of the guys managed to spend most of Saturday hungover. Good effort, mate. Can't keep up with the students anymore. I bailed early, knowing that I had to be at county early for Saturday morning and Sunday as well. Really good weekend of county darts as well, actually. You had the War of the Roses that went deep between Yorkshire and Lancashire. Derbyshire stayed top, I think, just in their division. Women's B winning 5-1, Women's A winning 6-0. But the first men's A game of the weekend I did was Ricky Siddell of Leicester, who has been around a long, long time. You might have seen him in exhibition and at Pro Tours, etc. before, against Henry Coates. And it was blisteringly good. Henry went 3-1 up and his winning legs were 15, 14 and 11.
Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. I've never, ever had a weekend where I've called so many 180s in a fixture. I think there were 22 180s in 36 matches across. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Super Series, Scott Taylor, Andy Bolton, Rolls Royce all week, and then ran into a sublime performance from Scott Taylor, averaging 109 in the final, which was just remarkable darts. And this week started off pretty damn good as well. Group A is absolutely lit.
John Michael. For me, Andy Bolton is one of those players who is going to be too good to not be a tour card holder.
Yeah, definitely.
Not good enough to retain his tour card constantly.
Yeah. Guess for next week, Tommy. We've not even finished this one yet.
It depends what happens this week.
Yeah. David has been invited. She was due to play last year. I can't remember what week it was, but it was October, November time, and she had to pull out ill. Bill, over under major winners for Gilding.
All of them. He has to win all of them. Every one.
Yeah.
If he doesn't lose a match between now and next year's Masters, then 50-50, you might get in.
Oh yeah, this is a good one as well. Owen Binks made his debut on stage 2. And how good was Charlie on the main stage, getting a semi-final, and he's got a Premier League coming up as well.
He did a top job, didn't he? Did Charlie? I didn't see a lot of Owen just because of the way that I was sort of doing the stream and doing other bits and pieces. But yeah, Charlie did a top job. Looked really at home, didn't I? Didn't look out of place at all. Did really good.
Yeah. Thoughts on Moppet being on the outside boards didn't surprise me.
Well, if he'd have won enough matches, he wouldn't have been, would he?
Oh, no, Dan, come on. No.
I mean, he wouldn't have still been on the outside board on Sunday, would he? They wouldn't have kept putting him out there.
Round 4, defending champion deserves main stage. I know that round 4 chucks up some ridiculous ties and whatever else, but defending champion deserves main stage.
Was it Jim Williams?
Yeah.
Danny Noppert's first game was Jim Williams, wasn't it? I think, from memory.
I love that, Mace.
No comment, Mace. Do you know what? We are pretty blessed with that at the minute, though. There is an abundance of very, very good darts referees nowadays.
And not just those two. Danny, the new referee at the Super Series as well. Very, very good as well.
But you think about, look, even some of the WDF team that are a little bit on the sidelines right now. Marco Meyer did a few weeks. He's pretty much on the sidelines right now. Marco Meyer is a fantastic referee. Yeah. There is plenty of people in the pipeline should the likes of Russ Bray and George Noble start to ease back their calendars and their commitment to the PDC, and there is a decent. There's a very, very good production line right now of top quality referees.
And that is important, isn't it? And it's a blessing for the PDC and the rest of darts as a whole, because let's be honest, there's not loads of kids sat at home saying, "I really want to be a darts referee when I grow up." And the fact that there is a stream of talented, relatively charismatic, committed young people that are progressing along that line and doing a good job of it, then it's all for the positive on Planet Darts, isn't it?
I missed the squeaky floorboard in Southampton, but yeah, that first bit when we can only have 2 players in the room because of COVID, the players calling their own scores, it was quite funny.
Big fan of that. Big fan of how much has changed.
How much has Czech darts changed? Look, Adam Gaulas is doing brilliant stuff for darts in the Czech Republic. He's a young lad they can get behind, which is great.
Up the Prague.
Yeah.
I'm all for the water tip celebration as well. We need to see more of that.
This is what we need more of.
Bring back the German lollipop man.
Here.
But look, busy times ahoy. Plenty going on. Super Series returns tomorrow morning for day 2. If it's anything like day 1, it's going to be unbelievable. But then on our channel, Fallout Bar will return this week from Liverpool, looking at the action from Liverpool. And then we have the return of the Pro Tour as well. So Pro Tour streams.
Oh, are we on again? Is it Pro Tour again this weekend?
Pro Tour weekend as well.
Oh, Mrs. S is going to be furious with me. I need to know what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to buy some flowers or something. I need to do something. Good God.
To be fair, Dan, if you stay at the end, we'll have a 5-minute chat as we're all here. We'll just see what the plan is for the weekend. But look, everyone, what a live lounge it has been. We wish Lee Boyce all the best in his continued recovery.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't take him 7 days. Get it? 7. 7.
From his mystery illness that might end in pool. But everyone, thank you very, very much. Great show. Remember, if you haven't yet, make sure you drop us a like and subscribe to the channel as always. I've been Phill Bars, Jack Garwood, Dan Simpson. Pleasure to have you on board as always. And we will see you all next week, 8 p.m. as the Live Lounge returns. That's us signing off.
Big goals, more than that.